everyone. Welcome to Fabulous Living with Angela Jones. I'm your host, Angela Jones. So happy that you guys made it back this week. I hope you guys had a wonderful week celebrating Valentine's Day and you were surrounded with the people that you love. I've had a wonderful week, and I'm just very happy to start this brand new week with you. I have a wonderful show planned for today. We're going to have a lot of fun celebrating Black History Month. Of course, we're halfway in the month, but I was kind of taking care of some other things at the beginning of the month. The first show, Super Bowl. Last week we were celebrating Valentine's Day and Mardi Gras, but I had to get in Black History Month, and I thought that today would be the perfect day to have a show that's totally focused on Black History Month, and that I wanted to highlight Black-owned businesses in the Washington metropolitan area. Small businesses are integral to our economy. They're a very important part of Black history because for a long time we could only depend on or support Black-owned businesses and those businesses in our community because we couldn't shop. This is of course pre-integration, so we couldn't shop at those businesses. So today I wanted to focus on Black-owned businesses, and I have some really cool businesses that are going to be highlighted today. So I'm really excited about sharing those two awesome businesses with you today. But first, I wanted to kind of I'm not going to take for granted that everybody knows about Black History Month. And for those that are not familiar with Black History Month, first it was just a week. Yep, first it was just a week, and then it morphed into a month. It's the brainchild of Carter G. Woodson, a very famed historian, and some other noted African Americans decided that there should be a day where Blacks were recognized for the role that they played in American history. So I just think it's a wonderful time to celebrate. I know some people have some issues with, it's the shortest day of the month, or, that's the picture of, that's historian Carter G. Woodson that you're seeing up on your screen now. But the fact is, to me, Black history, is celebrated. I celebrate it 365. So I don't really get caught up into, it's the shortest month and, hey, I celebrated 365, and I hope that you do too. One of the other things I want to kind of do today is I want to talk about what took place today in history. So February 18th, back in 1867, Morehouse College was founded. It was originally founded in Augusta, but then it ended up moving to Atlanta. So Morehouse College, shout out to any Morehouse alums, was founded in 1867. Pulitzer Prize winning author Toni Morrison was born today. Happy birthday, Toni Morrison. And then in 1965, Gambia gained its independence from the United Kingdom. So those are three things I just kind of wanted to highlight that happened today in Black history. So, a couple of really awesome things happened in Black history this week that are going to kind of carry on for generations to come. And one of those things is that the portraits of President Obama and First Lady Mrs. Obama were unveiled on Monday. And I think they're beautiful. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I went to the National Portrait Gallery yesterday to see them in person, and I'll be honest with you, the pictures that you just saw don't do it justice. You have to, if you live in the Washington metropolitan area, if you're going to be visiting, you definitely need to put that on your bucket list to go by and see them. Now, President Obama's is going to always be at the National Portrait Gallery, but I learned yesterday that Mrs. Obama's is only going to be there until November. They don't know where the portrait is going to eventually have its home. So I would say if you are in this area or you're going to be visiting, you definitely need to put that on your list of things to do while you're here. So the internet, love the internet, love social media, but sometimes it can be a bit much because while we all have our own opinions and we can share whatever we want to share, First Amendment, free speech, and all of that, but I just think that sometimes people kind of take things way to the left with this whole thing about being able to share their opinion and what they thought of it. And of course, I'm going to share mine today. So, of course, everyone's entitled to that. But I think when you're talking about art, art is really, in my opinion, up to interpretation. So, of course, what I think is beautiful, you might not think is beautiful, and vice versa. But I think that if we think about the significance of, the first of all, that the first black president and first lady are the first, they're the first black, people that held that position whose portraits are being placed into the gallery. That's Black history. And then on top of that, that they chose two black artists to paint them. That's history. So that was a lot of history that's going to go on, that's going to just carry us not just today and this week, but for generations to come. So I just think that is definitely something that should not go unnoticed. And I just think that, and I'm just going to say this, I don't know, Mr. and Mrs. Obama, of course, even though I have met Mr. Obama, though. Don't know him, but I do believe that that wasn't by accident either, that they had the portraits unveiled during Black History Month. I just believe that, they're two very smart people. They know the significance of this month, and they're aware of their culture and all those different things. So I know that it was not by accident that the portraits were unveiled during Black History Month. So we have both portraits up, and as you can see, President Obama's portrait is very vibrant. I'll be honest with you. I went to go see Mrs. Obama's first. Let me backtrack. I went to go see her portrait first, and I had already read and heard how everybody was upset that the tones were too muted and things like that. But Mrs. Obama chose Amy Sherrill to do her portrait. So it was her choice. That's what she wanted. And she knew her background. This is how she captures the people who sit for her pieces. That's the way she paints. I asked one of the docents at the National Portrait Gallery yesterday, like, what's her painting style? What does she do? And they said that she actually starts with a bright red canvas and then she paints onto that bright red canvas, which I think is a really neat technique. I think that though not as vibrant as President Obama's portrait, I still think it's very beautiful in that I love how regal she looks. Looks like she's sitting up high, almost like she's sitting on a mountain, and then how the gown is kind of sprawled all out around her. And I like that her pose is very casual. And that's what I can say about both of them. I like that they weren't, when you think about, official portraits of presidents, they look very stoic, and, it's kind of like the paintings are kind of dark and, dark brownish greens, gold hues, no color like this, I mean, let me tell you, I walked around the National Portrait Gallery and nobody's portrait look like theirs. And I think that's saying something in and of itself, is that their presidency and Mrs. Obama's service as First Lady, were not typical. So I think that it was I like the fact that they decided to step outside of the box and do something a little different and choose artists that were off the beaten path. I just think that says a lot. And that's really who they are. So I think that with all of that, they captured them in their best light, in my opinion. Mr. President Obama's portrait, I will say, we had to kind of go up like a winding staircase to kind of get to his, and then all of a sudden you kind of turn the corner. And before I even got like full on it, you just saw it. It just kind of illuminated with all the flowers and the colors. I mean, and it's 7 feet tall. So it's a very kind of imposing kind of piece. It was striking, very striking. I love with all the colors of the flowers and what they represent, as part of his journey as as his life's journey, with the flowers that represent Hawaii and Chicago and all. Beautifully done. And I almost like how he's like sitting almost like, and Kehinde Wiley, the artist, said that he typically likes to kind of capture his, the people he's uh, painting in a kind of a regal kind of way. And he kind of did that with President Obama in a subtle way, but he's almost kind of like perched on a throne, so to speak. And I like that he doesn't have on a tie and he doesn't look all super official. He looks kind of laid back and relaxed, but his stares he looks very pensive, and he's kind of leaned in, like he's kind of like I would imagine he would be if he's sitting around a group of people, just kind of with his hands on his knees, kind of engaging people. I love it. I love it. So again, I think that art is just that. It's supposed to be what the artist, it's their vision of how they interpret the people or whoever's sitting for them. And I think that they did a good job doing that. And I think that as far as going back to Mrs. Obama's piece, and I think that's the piece that a lot of people had more issue with because they kind of thought it was more muted. I believe that President Obama said it best when he said, I think that this portrait captures the vulnerability in her that most don't know. And he's her husband, and if he thought that, I thought, hey, that kind of sums it up for me, with everybody kind of chiming in and saying what they thought and didn't like, and people going on the internet and changing it and making her brown and all of that. I mean, I think he kind of summed it up in a nutshell. So that's my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. So today, as I said, we're going to highlight Black-owned businesses, and I'm going to be right back with the first of 2 interviews right after this. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fabulous Living with Angela Jones. I'm here with two very special guests. I'm very excited that they're here in the studio with me. If you've been watching, these are today I'm having my very first in-studio guest. Woo! I'm going to need y'all to clap over there. Y'all clap. Woohoo, clap it up. They're still not paying attention to me. Thank y'all for clapping, the people who clap. Thank you. Today, I have the co-owners of So It's My Party. And I love the little play on words, and it's S-E-W. It's My Party. Isn't that cute? I love that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that is so cute. So for starters, I want you guys, you ladies, to tell me a little bit about So It's My Party. And how you got started, what your inspiration was, how long you've been in business. So we can tag team it. Okay. Kelly, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay. Kelly Walls, and I started with So It's My Party, about a year ago. Chandra is actually the founder of So It's My Party.
Okay.
But I've been doing it for about a year or two.
Okay. Miss Chandra.
Hi.
So I'm sorry, let me back up.
Not yet.
Chandra McKinney Duran and Kelly Walls. I'm sorry, I got so excited about the name and everything. I forgot to tell you guys their names. So Chandra, tell me about how you got started and tell me a little bit about the services you offer and all that good stuff.
Well, we got started. I retired from the Navy about a year and a half ago, and
Okay.
I've always loved to sew. I've been sewing for many, many years, as long as I've been in the Navy. And once I retired, I wanted to do something for myself, and I love sewing, and I love teaching. I did a lot of teaching in the Navy.
Okay.
So I thought about, and funny enough, even though Kelly only started after she was part of me figuring out how it would work.
That's awesome.
You know, we would sit in the gym and chit-chat about it all the time. So what we do is So It's My Party. We are a mobile sewing company.
Okay.
We host sewing parties, and we also offer sewing lessons. We've recently started selling merchandise also. So some of the things we sell we make and sell are leather bags.
Beautiful bags.
We really like
I'm eyeing this one right
accessories,
here.
leather accessories. But we take orders for custom apparel also.
Ooh, I didn't know that. Yes. Oh. So, there are a number of things that you could have started. Why sewing? Like, why was that like the draw? Like, and that's such an interesting concept to do like a mobile, events and things like that and tie in sewing, which is something that a lot of people I'm a little older than y'all, but
Long start.
but don't do. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I just think that is so neat that you're kind of bringing something back, in my opinion, bringing it back, something that people don't typically do. So what was the motivation,
Well, I was motivated to start sewing years ago from my stepfather's, his mom.
Okay.
I just remember her making my cousin, my cousin was going to be a flight attendant, and then you needed to bring your own suits. And I just remember her sitting down, and then voila, there's a suit here. So I think just my love for fashion and watching her.
Okay.
And so, of course, I've always been a very creative person. I just want to sit down and create something and be able to see the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I thought I would be teaching sewing.
Right.
Because I'm not really want to get in front of people. I don't really want to talk to people as much. I'm a little shy sometimes. But after, being in the Navy all the years and having to be in front of people and having to talk, I have loosened up, and the social aspect of it is definitely fun.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So I don't know how to sew. I took sewing and home economics, and I wasn't good at it. I don't know if you guys remember, but you had to make like the little denim tote bag with the little handles on it. Mine had one handle was lower. It was a mess, and the pocket was crooked. The stitching it was bad. So I understand, Kelly, that you don't have to really have any experience.
You don't
though.
have to have any experience.
So if I say, hey, I want to have a party, and none of my friends know how to sew, you all
will
can
learn the basics of sewing.
Really?
And you will finish with the bag.
You can. This is one of the items.
Yes, that's an item that you can make.
You all check this
During the
out.
party.
This is awesome. So this is like a clutch, a fold over
It's
clutch.
roll down clutch, so you can roll
That
it down.
is
and
sharp.
Have you
curious.
even putting a liner,
Liner in it.
and a closure in there? You will do
You
that
do
in
all
the
of
class,
that in one?
the class.
Really?
Yes.
We also have fold down clutch where you actually learn how to put a zipper in.
Really?
Yes.
Even if you have no experience, you
No
can.
experience necessary.
Wow, that's awesome. But you all did these though, right? The students didn't.
Yes.
The students.
We did
students
those.
didn't. I was
But
going to
the
say.
students, they look just the
Theirs
same.
are just
Really?
as good.
Yes, check
Yes.
out our Instagram.
Okay,
and our
I am
Facebook,
going to do that.
And you'll see the students, they have their bags in their hands and they look the same.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That is really impressive. So, what's your favorite thing to sew? I'm going to ask Chandra first.
I definitely like sewing leather bags.
Okay.
I love the smell of leather. It just feels so luxurious.
Yes,
And
yes.
just the stitching, and leather will last many lifetimes.
It
So
will.
it's gonna hold up. So definitely anything with leather, mostly bags, is my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kelly?
I like bags as well.
You do
Not
too?
so much in the leather department.
Okay,
just
but like the
regular
fabric bags.
yes.
Okay.
Fabric bags.
Okay. So, before we get into the bags, I'm going to ask you one more question. So, who's your hero or heroine in Black history? Who do you admire and why?
I truly, I had thought about this because there's so many, but I would say I admire Maya Angelou because her words. I have used her words so many times to just get me through comfort and uplifting.
Yeah.
She was an awesome poet, and just
She was.
her
She was
energy,
amazing.
always calm, always quiet. And Kelly can tell you that I'm a fan of that
Yes.
type of personality. It's just her words have always moved me.
Okay. Same question for you, Kelly. Anyone?
I would
Stand
have to
up.
say, I was just telling Chandra, I said, Claudette Clover, who actually was, they considered the first person to say, I'm not giving up my seat on
Before
the bus.
Rosa
But
Parks.
right.
That's
and
right.
So I try to tell my daughter, who is 14, she always says, well, we can always do the Rosa Parks and all of the ones that we know, but we never look into the ones that we don't know.
Very true.
And so for her,
That's a very good point.
last year she did Claudette Clover,
Awesome.
and she said, well, Mom, why didn't anybody know about her? And I said, well, it's because she was 15. And Rosa Parks, of course, we knew she was the secretary of NAACP.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
used her because she had, some
That
pull there.
connection.
She
That's
could,
right.
yeah,
That's
so
right. That's
it's
right.
people like her that I admire and give
Okay.
me, I'm like, you don't always have to be in the forefront to make a statement. And
Right.
who knows that maybe she did give her some incentive to do the same.
That's true. Very true. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so one last thing I want to ask is, tell me, I know that you, I asked you before the show got started if you did anything else full time, and you said this was your full time job for both of you all.
Yes.
So tell me, as a business owner, about any challenges that you faced as a business owner, and what advice would you give anyone who wants to go into business for themselves?
I would say the challenges that I faced in the beginning were networking and reaching out to other people, because I've always been so self-reliant and
Yeah.
introverted. I sit and sew in the quiet by myself.
Right.
So
Right.
reaching out to other people had been a problem, but I think this past year, that was one of the things that I really strived. I really worked hard to overcome, and met some wonderful people, have some wonderful resources,
That's
and
great.
just the networking part. I would say use the people around you. They'll be able to help you. They've been through what you're going through. I would say connect with other business owners.
Okay, that's great. Great. That's good counsel. So let's dig into the bags and the other jewelry and things that you brought. So let's, can we focus in on the bags yet, Jay? Because we have some really lovely pieces over here that I want you guys to see. And maybe you can kind of talk through some of the, the bags and the
Okay.
jewelry that you brought, and can maybe talk about the things here. So I'm going to have, I know you said you like fabric bags more, so I'm going to have you hold that one, and then I know you like the leather one, so that kind of worked out. So
we
can,
actually chose these.
did you? Okay, so that's why that works out. So
Well, I'll talk about the party options.
Yes, let's do
So
that.
some of the
Yes,
things you
thank
cannot make at a party, like a leather bag, because that requires a special sewing machine, a leather sewing machine. But some of the party options are pajama bottoms. You want to have a sleepover, you can make your pajama pants.
Nice.
And then
That is so
everybody
cool.
stays all night and has on something that they made.
That is cool.
We have, we don't have any of our pillows out, but for little girls, we do owl pillows, different shapes of pillows. We start at age 7, so they come in, they make a pillow, and then they all leave with that pillow.
That's nice.
We do skirts, and we've done shirts. We've even had parties making full-out dresses. They're smaller, of course, and last a little longer, but we do that also. And you can see everybody gets a machine, and you get a kit, and we give you the instruction. We walk you through it. We teach you everything you need to do to complete it.
Amazing. As you can see from the pictures that are being pulled up now, you can see scenes from the different events that they've had. This blows my mind that people don't have to have any experience and they walk away with a finished product at the end of the show. That is, at the end of the event. That is amazing. So I see that you do jewelry too. I love jewelry.
We do, and that kind of happened by request. People see, oh, well, you're making a tassel. I want a tassel earring.
And you're like, I can do that.
Okay, we can do that. So we started offering more accessories, trying to stay along the line of, okay, leather accessories.
Right.
And not getting too out of hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me this: how can our listeners and viewers get in touch with you if they want to have a party? And I saw that you also do, FYI to anybody else out there that's a business owner, they also do this as a team building exercise. That is amazing. These ladies are doing it. That is so cool. That is so cool. So tell our listeners / viewers how they can get in touch with you. Give us your website information, your and all your social media handles. Kelly?
The website is www.sewitsmyparty, SEWITSMYPARTY.com. And Instagram, So It's My Party. Facebook, So It's My Party.
Love it.
You can
SEW.
like us on SEW. Yes.
Well, ladies, I want to thank you both for being on. This was awesome. I love what you do. And I'm trying to get a party going. I'm thinking in my head about who would. Yeah, so I'll be contacting you guys real soon. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having us.
So, hey, we're going to take a really short break, gang, and I'll be right back with the next guest. Be right everyone. Welcome back to Fabulous Living with Angela Jones. So, before I bring on my next guest, I couldn't have a show and not have bring in food, because food is such an integral part of. Sorry about that, y'all. Food is such an integral part of Black culture. So I definitely had to make sure that we focused on food. But this time I didn't cook any food. What I did today is I picked up some soul food from Oohs and Ahs, which is right here. They have a location right down the street on Georgia Avenue. So I picked up some great soul food from there, just so we can just kind of, highlight another very important part of our culture. And in a minute, I'm going to introduce to you my lovely guest and all these lovely desserts in a minute. But what I wanted to do first, like I said, is just kind of talk about soul food. Because, like I said, it's such an integral part of who we are. I think part of our history is steeped in food. I think there are two very important things in our culture that just scream about who we are, and I think that's food, and I think the second thing is music. So, of course, I thought, if I have to choose between the two, I'm going to always opt for food. So I decided that today we were going to talk about soul food. Soul food typically gets grouped in as Southern food, but there's definitely a distinction between the two. Southern food is not going to be as spicy, as sweet, as salty as soul food is. That's what makes the difference between soul food, because soul food is cooked with soul. You can taste that when you're eating soul food. So that's definitely the difference. People automatically kind of think that Southern food is synonymous with soul food, and it's not. It's not. There are a couple of chefs who will remain nameless, but you'll know who they are, that say that they're Southern cooks and things like that you see on television. But that's Southern cooking. That's not soul food cooking. It's a big difference. And one of the things with soul food is that it kind of stemmed back to like the 40s. I read an awesome book. I'm going to make sure I give you the name of it because it's amazing. It's Soul Food, The Surprising Story of an American Cuisine, One Plate at a Time. And the author's name is Adrian Miller. So many jewels in there about the history of soul food, its origin. Amazing. So if you're really like a foodie and really into like learning about the history of food and things like that, it's a great book to get. I enjoyed it. So he says, and I agree with this, that soul food, when we're talking about the origins of soul food, we're talking about Deep South. We're talking Alabama. Woohoo! Shout out to my parents. That's where my roots are. I have Alabama roots. And we're talking about Georgia and Mississippi. That's where we're talking about the origins of soul food, are. And when you really think about soul food, those are the origins of it, but really, it was really birthed in the period of the Great Migration, when the number of blacks were moving from the South and moving up north, and they wanted to have food that kind of reminded them of home. So they kind of wanted to recapture those things, and that's when soul food was birthed. And I think actually, if I read correctly, that the name soul food really came up in the 60s. Is really when it kind of became known as mostly soul food. And of course, we're talking like fried chicken. I'm going to hold this plate up for y'all. Fried chicken and mac and cheese, collard greens, cabbage, cornbred, chitlins, oxtails, and all that kind of good stuff like that is where, soul food has its origins. So, one of the things that I found interesting when I was kind of perusing the book is that, and I didn't know this, is that soul food was originally just kind of like, what am I trying to say? It was really mostly vegetables and starches that our forefathers ate, because meat was really kind of like not as commonplace as it is now on our menu in our diets at that time, especially like around the period of, if I read correctly, like Reconstruction and that period afterwards. Basically, our ancestors got the food that they had available, whatever the, slave owners made available to them, like a bag of rice or a bag of sweet potatoes. And then they had to grow a lot of their own vegetables and things like that. So honestly, a lot of soul food was really vegetarian dishes, to be honest with you. I did not know that. I just kind of thought that it was really a lot of the meat and the scraps. And of course that was part of it, but really this plate wouldn't have even had the chicken on it. Having this was a special, this was like for a special occasion. It was a celebratory kind of thing. Like it was reserved for Sundays or, something special when you had like a big spread and you had meat and the whole shebang. And I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if anybody else knew that, but I didn't know that. I found that very, very interesting. And then when you think about Sunday dinner, automatically, Sunday dinner is synonymous with soul food. Like, you're not having eggplant parmesan or, pasta, not in our culture or not on a Sunday. And Sundays were a big deal, like in our house. Like my mother got up in the morning before she went to service and cooked our breakfast, and she got up and she cooked our dinner. My brother can vouch for that. That's exactly what she did every Sunday morning, like clockwork, and because that was a big deal. And then we sat down together as a family and we dined together. And my mother got that from her parents and her extended family, my great aunt and my great grandparents, her grandparents. As I was preparing for the show, I asked her, I said, hey, Mom, I knew a lot of things, but I asked her a little bit more about things. I didn't know that my great-grandfather, we called him Papa Ed, that he actually had a farm. I didn't know that. I know he had like a small garden. My mother was like, no, he had a bigger farm somewhere else too. And I was like, I didn't know that, where he grew his own vegetables and grew his own, had his own cows and chickens and hens and all of that. So basically they would just kind of go to the farm, get the chicken, I won't be graphic, but, and prepare it so that they could eat it. Because that kind of grosses me out. I just want to think of the chicken like this. I don't want to think of Messeria. Anyway, they did all of that, and he grew the vegetables and everything. My mother said there were lima beans and black-eyed peas and collard greens. Everything that they were going to have for that Sunday meal, he grew it. And I think that is so amazing. And then they gathered every Sunday. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, all of my great aunts and great uncles and everybody gathered together and they ate a meal together and broke bread, which I think is a lost art. I think it's something we don't do anymore, but I would love it if that was something that we could kind of bring back as a culture. I think that we I'll be honest with you, like we kind of take our plates, and for me, I kind of stand up in the kitchen and I eat. Even a big meal like this, I'll stand up in the kitchen to eat. I won't even sit down and enjoy it, because I'm always thinking about the next thing that I need to do. But there is something to be said about sitting down together with your family and gathering and eating. So that was my little thing on the soul food thing, because I still had to do food and kind of incorporate it some kind of way and patronize a black-owned business. So there you have it with that. But of course, two more things that are important to your soul food dish, and everybody can relate to this. The other thing is you got to have the bomb desserts. We have bomb desserts today. And the other thing is you have to have your drink, a red drink. And notice we didn't say it was strawberry. We didn't say it was cherry. We said the red Kool-Aid. Y'all know about that? That's what we called it. It was like the color of the drink, and it was also known as the flavor, red. So you had to have those things together. The desserts, like I said, pound cake, sweet potato pie, lemon, meringue pie. Y'all help me. Some other things. Red velvet. Banana pudding. Those are all the things that you would find on our table, the glorious desserts.
Yes.
And like I said, and we have glorious desserts today. I'm so excited. And if y'all haven't, caught on, I'd rather eat desserts than eat savory food. Like, this is cool and everything, but I'm like focused on these things over here. So this is a great time to segue right into my guest who's been sitting here so patiently while I went through that little thing with the soul food. This is Bina Mae Robin. She is the owner of Cup My Cakes. Isn't that another cute name? I love these cute names for these businesses. I love it. And she has some little lovely desserts that we'll get into in a little bit. But first of all, I wanted to thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show. So tell us about your business, where you got the inspiration, how long you've been in business, and all that good stuff.
Okay, so Cut My Cake started actually my good friend's 40th birthday party. And we wanted to, myself and another friend wanted to basically go all out with the desserts. And that I know now, I didn't know back then it could be a little expensive. So I went to my friend Nikki with 2 Ks, and I said, look, I can make cupcakes, and they ain't gonna be, you know, like those superstar cupcakes, but I can make cupcakes. And she said, I ain't worried about that. Go ahead and do what you're gonna do. And so I did it. I maybe watched too many. What do you call those shows? Cake shows.
Yes,
that month.
like on Food
and
Network.
I felt like I was in it. Like I'm gonna do this.
I love it. I love it.
So that week, I went out and I researched it, and I made, I think, 3 or 4 different cupcakes. And then I got into piping, the different type of piping and designing. And however, so we went to the birthday party, and just the response that I did not expect was so overwhelming.
Wow.
And I think Cut My Cake started right there. It didn't even have a name. They were Nikki's Cupcakes at that point.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
so
how long ago was this?
This was 6 years ago.
Wow.
So just April 11th. No, I'm sorry. What we just passed? February 11th.
Okay.
Made 6 years.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, that's huge.
And so that's it. And then, so that was important that she trusted me to do it, and I went in there and I did it. And then another important person that actually just drove it in was my husband's best friend. His name is Brian Robinson, very talented artist. He didn't even give me an option. He just started taking orders. He just started taking orders. He was like, okay, I need you to do this on this weekend and do that on that weekend. And Cut My Cake started. And here we
Thank
are.
God for those friends that give us that push that we need. I have
Yes.
some that are just kind of like, you can do this. Go ahead.
Yes.
So that's awesome.
Yeah,
That is
and
great.
I started out with just cupcakes. I loved cupcakes. I thought they were so cute and dainty. And ended up progressing into cakes, and now we're doing the whole shebang.
I love it.
Yes.
So tell me this, because we're going to get into this because I'm like, but so tell me this. I know you work full time.
I do.
So how do you balance, you know, your business and a full-time job? That's a lot. So how do you balance all of that?
3 kids and a husband.
And 3 kids. Did y'all hear that? And 3 kids and a husband.
So the baking is not a job. It is, but it's not to me. It's very therapeutic. It's what I love doing. So it's when it's time to get in there and do it, I just do it. So I don't think of it as a job.
Okay.
But I also love my full-time job as well, my career. So both of them, I don't
You
know
don't
how
hear
it
that
works,
very
but I
often.
know-
Just saying. Sorry.
But I do. I love it. Anything that's a hustle and bustle, I love.
Okay.
I'm good in chaos. Organized chaos is
I get it. I'm
where
like
I
that
fit
too.
in. And
Yeah.
this is chaos. You know, if you would see my kitchen after I try to
It
throw
doesn't-
something together.
Well, the end result doesn't look chaotic to me. It looks pretty tasty.
Yeah,
I'm trying
so-
not to grab one.
I don't know how it works, but it works.
Okay.
And I get it done. Again, a lot of support. You know, my husband is very supportive.
That's
He's like, you know,
wonderful.
whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. My kids, I have 2 daughters who are just awesome. You know, they help whenever
Okay, I
I
was
need
gonna ask
them.
you, are they your helpers?
Yes, they
Aw.
jump right in.
How old are
and I have an 18-year-old and 12-year-old. So, yes. And then I have a
Nice.
7-year-old little boy, DJ, the Deejster. So
Aw,
they
that's so
help,
sweet.
and you know they give me my space. You know, 'cause
And
I
this is
turn
good for
into-
them to see you doing this.
Yes.
You know, I've noticed, I can say, like, with my son, like, with Darius, that it's nice for our kids to see us, like, hustling and making it happen. They know that you have another job and that this is like you have this business too. So that's good for
Yeah.
them to see that too. So you may
Yeah.
have some entrepreneurs in the making.
Well, I told him it's theirs. You know, so look,
That's
y'all better
awesome.
get it together because
That's
this
right.
y'all.
You're like, this is yours. I'm leaving this to you. Kids, y'all hear that?
It belongs to you, but take care of this. No.
So tell me this. What's your favorite dessert to bake? If you had to choose.
Okay, so I don't eat dessert like that. I know.
Say
I
what?
don't. So, if I had to go to a dessert to eat, it would be apple pie. And I really just want the filling out of it.
Really?
Out
And
of
see,
it,
I
yes.
love the crust. So you can eat the filling out. We would
See?
and then
No
I would,
waste.
okay, yeah, we could do
We'll
that.
handle
We could
it.
do that. We were out together. Okay,
Yes.
all right, fine. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least that makes you know the business is going to be profitable because you won't eat the
I won't be
profits.
eating the profits, okay? I will not. I don't touch them. I make them, and and then I send them on their way.
I love
Yes.
it. Oh my goodness. So tell me, if you had to, I'm going to ask you the same questions that I asked the other ladies, the other guests. If you had to name someone in Black history that you admired, it doesn't have to be a business person, it could be anyone. Who would that person be, and tell me why you admire them? I'm really curious.
I thought about that question, and I don't have one particular person.
Okay.
But I would say any woman in Black history, for me, is just,
Amen.
it's awesome, right?
It is.
From the educators to the
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, especially Black women, we have our hands in everything. We started everything. Whether they're going to give us the credit for it or not, we have started everything.
I concur.
And I take my hat off to them all, because if it wasn't for them and the push forward that they had and the dedication that they had, then I wouldn't be able to do what I do on my own, whether that's my career or, my passion. So all of them. And Michelle Obama, because that girl is fly.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. We miss them. Okay, that's a whole nother show, though.
I know.
But so, before we dig into the sweets, I want you to tell us, what you brought and everything. But first, before we do that, give everybody, tell people how they can get in touch with you if they want to place an order and all that good stuff. And then I want you to kind of get into this, and we're going to kind of, end the show with all the goodies. We're going to end it on a sweet note. Y'all like that?
I like it.
Okay.
So on Facebook, we're Cut My Cakes DC. And on Instagram, we're Cut My Cakes DC. And
I love it. Easy,
you
right?
can
Y'all
just
can
online
remember
at
that?
www.cutmycakesdc.com.
Awesome. Nice and easy.
Don't forget the DC. You got to say the DC, because
Okay.
there is another Cut
There's
My
an-
Cakes out there.
Okay.
She's in Minnesota, but
Okay. We don't
Cut My Cakes DC.
Cut My Cakes DC, people. Okay. So, get into what you brought here. And y'all, I'm just so tickled. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so one thing that we pride ourselves on at Cut My Cakes is baking fresh. Everything is fresh. Nothing is made no more than 12 to 24 hours in advance.
Okay.
We don't refrigerate or we don't freeze. So you're getting it fresh.
Love that.
I'm a fan of freshness, so I need you
too.
to be able to know that it's fresh. And I can taste freshness. I don't want to taste anyone's refrigerator, so
Absolutely.
I like to give it to you
Awesome.
fresh. I bought today our lemon cupcake, and it's just with a vanilla buttercream. And we also, we can personalize things. So we have
Look,
a
and she has my logo on there. I almost don't want to eat it, but I'm going to eat it.
Yes, and it's all
Isn't
edible.
that so pretty? I love
So,
that.
and then we also have our vanilla cupcake there.
Which one? The one I had?
The one
okay.
you had is vanilla.
Vanilla? Okay. Lemon.
Yep.
Vanilla.
And they both have a vanilla buttercream
Ooh, I love
on
buttercream.
them. Yes. And over here we have our little cake bites. So we have a chocolate cake bite with chocolate. It's covered in chocolate candy. And then we also have one with a peppermint sprinkle, a walnut sprinkle, and a cookie sprinkle.
Look at
So,
that.
and it's kind of like a fudgy cake poppy type.
Yeah. Awesome.
And cake tails is what we specialize in at Cut My Cakes. It's something that is not out. It's not out there. It belongs to us. But I'll tell you about it. So this is an actual cake that's baked in this glass. Now,
You
baking
bake
in
it
glass,
in the glass?
in the glass. So I've perfected being able to bake in a glass without the glass shattering or breaking. So
You need
we
to
bake
patent
it.
this.
We getting there. We getting there.
Ooh, that's
So
hot.
we bake it right in there, and it
That's
does
awesome.
something to the texture of the cake, and it's like a cake pop and a cake had a baby, and then like just all of that.
I
yeah,
love that.
and it keeps it fresh. So we do these for events. If you can see your logos on the top of there.
I love it. Y'all see my logo?
And we can
Yeah.
turn these into mock cocktails as well. So you can turn your cake into a cocktail, which you have cake tails. And you can have your cake and
Wow.
drink it too.
I don't even drink, but that is hot.
So I didn't put anything in your straw, but we can turn these into margaritas, strawberry daiquiris, any type of cocktail that you like. We can mock it and make it into this. Cut My
That's
Cakes does
awesome.
not sell alcohol, but if you want to give me the alcohol, then I can put it in there for
Okay.
you, and you can actually have it in there. and
That
we have a way
is
that we
awesome.
infuse it to where it's not, it doesn't bake out. So
That is so
Yeah.
cool. Y'all, isn't this amazing? Oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. Well, like I said, we're going to end it on a sweet note because I'm getting ready to devour these, and it's not going to be pretty, y'all. So thank you guys for tuning in for yet another week. Thank you again,
Thanks for
Bina May, for
having me.
coming and sharing all of this delectable
goodness.
Divine goodness. Yes. I'm going to tear it up. So, look, thanks again. Next week, tune back in. This week, we're going to be, this week is DC Fashion Week. So, we're going to get into a little bit of fashion next week. I have some awesome guests. They're going to share their wares and things like that. So, we have a great show in store for next week. Until next week, have a fabulous week. Blessings.